Good afternoon, everybody. If you're like me, it's summer and it's really hot outside, so it's fun to think about doing a project indoors. And you know, one of the hottest trends right now in interiors are great pops of color on interior doors. So I want to be able to show you just some really basic techniques today, and know that after you drop the kids off at school one morning, that it's something that you can actually do yourself. Very easy, there'll be no odor, and then that way when it's time to go pick up the kids from carpool, you'll have a gorgeous new door or maybe several great new doors. First of all, we want to congratulate our winner from last week, Betty Green. She won the prize pack that we have, and every week that we do these projects, we actually have a kit that includes all of the products that I'll be using. So of course she got a clean slate, she got her wax and several other things. This week we're gonna have a kit that's a door kit. So it's going to allow you to do the same project that I'm doing today at your own home. One of the great things about it is these sample pots or these pots of paint will actually be enough paint for you to do an entire interior door. But you may get so excited at the transformation that takes place, you're going to decide to do 6 or 7 of those doors. So one of the first things we want to go over, probably the most difficult decision you're going to have to make, is going to be choosing the color. And I've got several things here that I want to show you. Of course, we love this color. Now, a lot of you may say, what color is that in the one-step paint? Remember, we have a light base, a medium base, and a dark base that you go choose your base, and you can have it mixed at Ace Hardware in any color you want. This is actually a color that's comparable, and it's called Calico Hearts 08B-2U. So, but let's say you go in and you love the pink and the blouse, maybe that I have on, or a pair of pants or some shoes. They'll custom mix that color for you, and you can have that on your doors. Here's an example. As most of you know, if you follow me on Instagram or Facebook, I bought a new house. It's an old house, but it's new to me. And this is a paper that I'm going to be doing in one of the bathrooms. So I'm going to be custom mixing the colors to be able to do on the sconces and things in my bathroom. So use that as an alternative when you're wanting to actually choose a color. But remember too that we have 52 colors that you can choose from in the one-step paint, which is going to make this project so easy to do. Now, let's take a glance at these colors right here. What's really important is that you remember you've got to look at your wall color, and as most wall colors are neutrals, they're either going to be cool whites or creams. You want to take that into consideration when you're making a decision. So let's say you have a creamier color and your walls are a creamy white. You're going to want to go with a door that's maybe this color. You could go as far as maybe into this color blue, but if you get too cool like these brighter colors here, you need to make sure that your walls are more cool as well. So I love these combinations of colors, as well as black, and a good man is hard to find. You can't go wrong. That's one of the most amazing grays. A couple of other techniques that I'm going to show you today is about using the Mind Your Own Beeswax and the cerusing wax that is great on doors. Now, the first thing after you choose your color, and it's going to take about a pot of paint to be able to paint this entire door. Let's go to this one over here. Now, the majority of the time, most of the doors that you're going to be working with are going to be 6-panel doors. Sometimes there's going to be 4 or 5-panel. This is a 6-panel. So, and a lot of times they're like a particle board, a masonite material. They're usually not solid wood. But the great thing about it is it's not going to matter if you've got an oil-based paint or a water-based paint or a satin or whatever finish that's on it. You're going to be able to paint directly on top of it with the one-step paint. That's what makes it so easy. If you were to hire a painter and he would come in, literally your home is going to go into shutdown. He's going to be painting probably with oil-based paint. It's going to have an odor. And remember, one of the most important things about the one-step paint is that it has no VOCs. I love the fact that you can literally shake it up, pour it in your container, work from it, and you're not going to worry about any smell at all. So, but what's the first thing we need to do to our door before we start painting? We're going to use the clean slate on it. And if you're like me, my home was built in the 50s that I actually just moved into, and there's a lot of grease and grime on things. It's probably been there for a very long time. So I just want you to come back and make sure that you use the clean slate and clean the whole door. Now remember, this is live, and if you make a comment or you ask a question during this Facebook Live, your name goes in for the drawing for the kit to be able to actually paint a door yourself. So,
I have a question from John.
Yes.
Can you paint over an oil-based paint?
Yes, that's what's so great. One of the first times we introduced this paint, a lot of the guys would say, okay, you can't paint one-step paint, which is a water-based paint on top of oil-based paint. Yes, you can. That's one of the great things about the one-step paint. You don't have to worry about whatever surface, even if it's a masonite material or whatever finishes on there, it's going to work. You just want to clean it first, and I just want to make sure if there's been liquid gold from the 70s that's on it, or maybe any type of residue or gum or anything like that, make sure you get it all off with the clean slate. We're going to let that air dry. Now I will tell you, on this particular door that we bought at Restore, which is a Habitat for Humanity store, it did have holes in it right up here where probably someone had hung a wreath or something in the room. You do want to come back with some Famo wood and just fill those little holes in, and then come back with some 400 sandpaper and fill that hole in. The one-step paint is not going to cover up those holes and fill that in. So the next thing we want to do is we're going to come back with our one-step paint. Now, I think it's adorable to have these really cute blue doors. You know, the thing is, you can have maybe the door in your kitchen, it can be a cute blue, or maybe your pantry door, or I'm going to show you in just a few minutes about how to even do some antique mirror in your French doors. But what I want you to do is think about this door in panels. It's going to be a lot easier. Now, before you start painting, I want you to take some regular painter's tape and just tape off the hinges and the handle. I don't like taking the doors off, and if it's a project that you want to do by yourself and you don't have any help from your husband or maybe a good friend that's handy, you can actually paint this on the hinges. Just be sure and tape it off. So,
Amy, we have a couple of questions.
Yes.
Will Clean Slate remove hairspray?
Clean Slate more than likely would remove hairspray. I love that. Y'all remember a couple of weeks ago I shared with you how when Jean would go clean our car on Sunday morning, and the area where I would flip my makeup mirror down and I would get lipstick and stuff over it, and it made him really mad because it was a new car. And the guy that would help us detail our car sometimes couldn't get it out. So he took the clean slate and went and cleaned off all the makeup and the lipstick off of my door. So yes, I would try it.
Do you need to clean slate it if it's a new door?
If it's a brand new door, I don't think you would need to clean slate it, but if it's older, there's a possibility that there's been liquid gold or cleaners and things done on it. The problem is when there's an oily residue or a cleaner that's been used, it can act as a surfactant where this won't adhere as well. If it's good and clean and you've got that off, then you're good to go. So there's no sanding, there's no stripping, there's no priming. I can go now and just directly apply the paint. So what we want to do first is I want you to look at these panels, and this is what we're going to start first. So dipping your brush down into the paint. Now, if it gets kind of thick, you can add a little bit of water to it if you want to, but look how I'll offload it on the sides, but I want to make sure there's still enough paint loaded up in it, but that way it's not dripping. And look how I'm using an angle brush. This is a synthetic brush that we have here at Amy Howard in order to paint this. I'm not going to be using a chip brush. I want a little bit smoother finish. Now, watch how I'm going to lay up in here in this corner, and I'm going to come down. See, that's part of the reason for that angle brush. And then I'm going to lift up my brush like this, add just a little bit more paint, come back up in that corner again at about a 45-degree angle. I'm going to catch that drip just coming around this way.
Amy, we have a question from Ellen. Can you paint over a door that already has been painted with the one-step and been waxed?
Yes, that's a great question, Ellen. Now, what I want you to do is I want you to come back and get the clean slate and get the wax off. That's what makes it so great, because you can go and do new projects all the time. A lot of people will paint something and say, I'm not crazy about the way I waxed it, or I put on too much dark wax. that's not a problem. Then all you have to do is come back with a clean slate, take it off, and paint over it all over again. All right, so I want to come back and feather this out. I'm actually going to do 2 coats on this. Remember, it's called one step, not one coat. So I'm going to come back, just kind of feather it out. Now I'm going to come back over on this other one. Let's do this one down where you can see just a little better. How I'll lay that in the corner, and I'll come down where I'm kind of cutting it in. Long, clean strokes. A lot of people will paint like this. They say about 70% of the time people don't put enough paint on their brush. But you don't want to lay the brush down and lift it up and lay it down and lift it up, because you'll have stop marks. So I want you to try to go as long and as clean like this as you can. So you may have to just put on just a little bit more paint. Now, a lot of times I'm not as worried about this flat area because I'm going to come back with my roller. Remember, this is live, so if you have any questions, I want to be able to help answer those for you. So the main thing is that you want to just get this area where these panels are painted first. See how I'm all the time just kind of coming back and checking? Work your way around. Try to go 1, 2, 3, 4 if you can. Sometimes I'll get drips and it'll bother me. I'm not worried about getting a little bit over here. That's not going to be a problem. But I do want to make sure that I get up in the sides of it.
Amy, will UV rays affect the one-step paint on a door?
Do what now?
Will UV rays affect the one-step paint on a door?
You know, I have used it on my doors, and I've not had any problem. The great thing about it is, if it's going to get a lot of direct sunlight, that you may want to come back and just put some type of sealer on it. Or if you need to, maybe after a couple of years, just put a fresh coat of paint on it. So notice how I'm working my way down. Lay that angled brush to the side like that and thin it out. Now you see, literally in the amount of time I've been showing you how to do this, I could have this door painted in about 20 minutes. So I'll come back, continuing to kind of finesse it, make sure it's nice and smooth. Now I want to show you something. We're going to come over here. I'm going to pour a little bit of the one step into this pan, because even though I'm skipping around, when you're working at home, I want to make sure that you paint all of these panels first. I see a drip. Let me get that real quick. So I want you to paint the panels, but for the sake of time, I'm just coming back and I want to show you how to roll the paint on. So here your paint is in the pan. Just stick this roller down in here, but then you're not trying to get it all the way around until you get up here. So roll it around, load that paint up to where it's going to be evenly saturated, but most of that's going to take place up on this part of the pan. So make sure that you get it completely saturated, and you've got to be careful because see, look how the paint will start to load up on the side like that. Just make sure that you flip it around. These smaller pans are a little bit harder to do about making sure that I get it evenly.
Amy, we have a question from John. Would
Yes.
it be better to spray the door instead of painting it and rolling it?
Yes, John, but here's the deal. A lot of people are afraid to use a sprayer and they don't want to take the door off the hinges. Yes, it's much easier and it's much faster to spray it, but if you don't have that capability and you want to be able to paint it, a lot of people want to do a project like this while their kids are in school. This is a very easy way that you can do it by yourself. Just tape the hinges and the doorknob. But yes, if you have a friend and if you have an Amy Howard sprayer, by all means. So what I would have done, I would have made sure that I painted all of the lights on the door and then my sides, and then I would be coming in and painting the panels, but I'll usually roll them on. So come up to the top. I'm doing exactly what I shouldn't be doing by starting at the very middle. And watch how I will roll it down just like I'm working with my brush, making sure that there's no holidays, that it's nice and even.
Amy, would your wax melt before it heats?
Well, here's the deal. You're only going to put a very small amount on the door. You're not putting too much. Now, one thing I want to point out that I'm doing, this is a faux wood door. It's not real wood. But normally the grain at this top would run this way. The grain would run down the side this way and in the middle. So you're always going to paint the direction of the grain, even if it's a faux grain. And if you have the capabilities of taking it off and actually working on a flat surface like a table, it's even better. But look how I'll feed this top into that side panel. You know, the great thing about it is I'm really not having any drips or anything, but it wouldn't be a bad idea if you put down a drop cloth just to kind of protect the area. But just think you can go, get your color, and paint this door. It's going to be adorable in your kitchen before everybody gets home for dinner. And guess what? I know you don't think about this a lot of times. With most of the other chalk-based paints, you have to seal them. You don't have to seal ours because if you paint this maybe a dark gray or even black, guess what else it can be? It can be a chalkboard. You can easily clean it with Windex or simple green. If you get something on it, it's not going to affect the paint at all. But you've got this incredibly creative space to be able to do all kinds of things with. Now I'm going to go back up here and I'm going to go across, remember, because this is my faux grain, to go across. Now, so I think you kind of get the gist of what I'm doing, how I want you to be able to paint. And I'm going to let this dry. It's going to take about 20 minutes to dry. I'll come back, I'll put a second coat on it, and then I'm ready to wax it if I want to. Now come over here and let me show you something. Now, the cool thing about it is you've got so many options now with waxes and techniques, and I love on grays and blues to be able to use this cerusine wax. So cerusine is actually a white wax that allows you to be able to create a lot of different looks. And I want to show you on this beautiful matte finish. You can leave it like this. You don't have to seal it. But if you want to come back with some cerusine wax, look at this. Does this look awesome? It gives it kind of a striated look. You can let it build up in these lines on the panel if you want to. And also it makes it really easy to clean. It's going to have a beautiful sheen to it. Look at that. Can you see the difference? Here's this matte chalky finish, which the One Step gives me. And look at this. It's almost like a glazed effect. But I'm going to apply it like this. It's easy to put on with just a round brush. You can use a chip brush if you want to. And just feather it out. And what a great look this would be on a door. I bet you never thought about waxing doors, but they're beautiful. Look at this door over here. This is kind of a before and after on a kitchen door that we had. Now, a lot of these doors that you're gonna have in your homes, there are a melamine type material, and that's what this kitchen door is. And we painted it and actually came back with the cerusine wax. This is Vintage Affliction. I don't know if it's been one of our most popular selling colors because of the name Vintage Affliction or because it's just an amazing blue. You want to make sure that your wall colors are a little bit more cooler and neutral to be able to go in with this blue.
Amy, if you were to paint the front of the door, would you suggest painting the sides or just leave them white?
No, okay, so if you're painting the front of the door, you want to make sure that you come back and paint the sides as well. So that way, usually if it's an interior door, you're going to be able to see it on the sides. I think it's prettier, especially if it's a pop of color and your outside door is going to be white. The last couple of houses that I had, y'all know that I move all the time. I'm all the time redoing projects and homes. I painted all the interior doors black. They were exquisite. Now, you need to make sure you're not painting the trim around the door at all. You're only painting the door itself. And here's an example. Here's an image that we had, and this is actually more A Good Man Is Hard to Find, just that beautiful dark gray. Look how that becomes a focal point in that room, especially if you love kind of a farmhouse look. This is an awesome look. But I love doing the one step on doors in black, but I'll come back with Mind Your Own Beeswax on them, and it gives it almost a furniture finish to it. The sheen is gorgeous, it feels amazing, and it's really easy to do. You're just gonna take, I'm just gonna grab this out of our kit, and you're just gonna squeeze a little bit of the wax. Let me shake that up. I told y'all it was hot. Looks like it probably melted on me. I'm gonna put just a little bit of this wax out onto my door. I'm just gonna take a rag. I'll spread it over the whole surface. Has a great smell. It's natural beeswax. Let me move all this stuff out of the way. Get that over the entire door. Let it dry about 15 or 20 minutes and then buff it, and it has an incredibly beautiful sheen. Now, you know we do have our nitrocellulose lacquers that you can spray, but believe it or not, you can get a beautiful look just like this with the Mind Your Own Beeswax. It won't be quite as bright and the pops of color, but for interior rooms, I think it's great to be able to keep them more neutral like this, and the palette would literally be timeless. So I hope you've enjoyed this today. Please remember to continue to make your comments and ask questions, and we'll be answering them through tonight, because you want to be able to be entered into getting this kit to redo your door yourselves. I'm so sorry. So till next time, it's your turn to go enjoy the bragging rights.